Did you know a single barrel of crude oil contains the energy equivalent thousands of hours of human labor? This is the sharp, surprising fact of our modern world. It is an almost magical substance that has powered the last century of progress. We see it at the gas station, but that is only the most visible part of its story. Its true influence is far deeper. This invisible thread connects our food, our medicine, our homes, and our jobs, all tied together in a complex global network. It has allowed us to build a world of unprecedented speed and scale. The simple answer to a world without oil is that our cars would stop working. But that is not enough. This exploration will map first-order shocks in transport and goods, trace ripples into supply chains, food, finance, and governance, expose dangerous feedback loops, and end with how a new, smaller world rebuilds. The very first and most obvious change in a world without oil is the silence. The constant hum of distant traffic fades away. The skies, once streaked with the white trails of jetliners, become empty and clear. This is the first-order effect, the near-total shutdown of our dominant modes of transportation. The cars, the trucks, the cargo ships, the airplanes that form the circulatory system of the global economy would slow to a crawl, and then stop entirely. People who commute long distances for work would find themselves stranded. Families separated by states or countries would have no easy way to reunite. The freedom of movement we take for granted would vanish overnight. Supermarket shelves, typically restocked daily by diesel trucks, would begin to empty within days. Fresh produce disappears, refrigerated goods vanish, canned foods run out, grains are gone, bottled water follows. A just-in-time delivery system is exquisitely vulnerable. The flow of goods is a moving river. We have just dammed its source. Factories and businesses feel the impact quickly. A modern factory is a point of assembly relying on a dispersed network of suppliers. When ships and planes stop, those parts do not arrive. Assembly lines fall silent. Food exists, medicine exists, goods exist, but they are in the wrong place with no way to move them. The halt in transportation is the initial shock, but the true catastrophe unfolds in the second wave of effects. A supply chain is the complete journey a product takes. Extraction of raw materials, processing and manufacturing, distribution and transport, final placement on a store shelf. Think of a simple t-shirt, cotton grown in India, spun into thread in Vietnam, woven into fabric in Turkey, sewn into a garment in Bangladesh, before being shipped to a warehouse in the United States. Each step depends on the one before it, and all steps depend on the cheap, reliable movement of goods. When one link snaps, the entire process can fail. The factory in Bangladesh may have plenty of workers and sewing machines, but if the ship carrying the fabric from Turkey does not arrive, production stops. The factory closes. Its workers lose their jobs and their income. The Turkish fabric mill loses its customer and must lay off its own workers. The Vietnamese spinning mill, in turn, loses orders from Turkey. This is where the problem moves from a logistical crisis to a financial one. A company's value and its loans assume goods will be made and sold. When chains break down, that trust evaporates. Banks may have lent against inventory now stranded in a port halfway around the world. For decades, we prioritized efficiency and low cost over resilience. Interdependence, once a strength, becomes a vector for collapse when oil stops flowing. Nations and industries discover, all at once, they are critically dependent on distant partners they can no longer reach. Enjoying this exploration? Tap like, share a thought in the comments, and subscribe for more serious, systems-level scenarios. Alongside the failure of transportation, another crisis begins to unfold: the collapse of the food supply. Modern agriculture is a high-intensity industry dependent on fossil fuels. The tractors that plow, the combines that harvest, the trucks to market, all run on diesel. Without oil, mechanization ends. Farm work reverts to animal power and human labor, slower, less productive. Many fertilizers are produced from natural gas. The Haber-Bosch process creates ammonia-based fertilizers and transformed global food production, but it is energy-intensive. Without chemical assistance, soil fertility declines and crop yields plummet. Food becomes scarce and astronomically expensive. People spend much more just to eat, leaving little for everything else. History gives stark examples, like the Irish potato famine, where a single failure and poor responses caused mass starvation and upheaval. Food shortages spark unrest. Governments struggle to distribute dwindling supplies. Rationing, price controls, and rising black markets follow. Empty shelves and hunger erode trust in institutions. Riots over bread have ignited revolutions. The failure of the food system threatens social order and political stability. While transportation and food are immediate, the loss of oil shocks other critical systems. Some plants burn oil for backup generation, but more importantly, maintenance relies on constant deliveries. Spare parts, specialized lubricants, purification chemicals, all arrive on trucks and ships. Without oil, repair and maintenance degrade, leading to more frequent blackouts. Modern hospitals depend on stable electricity, ventilators, MRI scanners, refrigeration for blood and vital medicines. When the grid fails, hospitals switch to generators, which run on diesel that is scarce or gone. Surgeries are canceled. Patients on life support are at risk. Jobs disappear, poverty rises, desperation grows. Local governments lose tax revenue and struggle to provide basics: policing, fire services, sanitation. Sanitation breakdowns spread disease. As services erode, people migrate, straining host communities and sparking conflict. Breakdown is chaotic and uneven. Some places collapse faster than others. A power grid failure triggers public health failure, which in turn erodes social order. Physical breakdown of supply chains and infrastructure triggers a collapse in the abstract world of finance. Money is a system of trust, a belief that paper or digits exchange for goods and services. When the flow stops, trust shatters. The stock market represents future earnings, and it would plummet as investors see no future earnings. Corporations built on trade evaporate. Trillions in paper wealth are wiped out. Loan payments stop. Banks, which lend most deposits out, face runs. Panic reveals the cash is not there, causing even healthy banks to fail. Governments are called to intervene, just as revenues collapse and needs spike. Leaders must decide who gets the last resources: the military to maintain order, the farmers to produce food, or the hospitals to save lives. Any choice angers many. Political extremism, secessionist movements, and civil conflict feed on scarcity. The collapse moves from goods to money to the rules that hold society together. As the initial shock subsides, vicious feedback loops govern the decline. Factories close, workers lose income, demand falls, more businesses fail. A hidden mechanism is ROEI, energy return on energy invested. Some oil gushes easily. Tar sands and deep water require huge energy. When energy in matches energy out, it is no longer an energy source. Import-reliant nations suffer first. Trade falters. Humanitarian crises rise. Healthier neighbors close borders to protect scarce resources. Scarcity breeds fear. Fear breeds conflict, even wars over fertile land and accessible energy. Adaptation goes intensely local. Long supply chains are replaced by short, simple ones. This transition is difficult and requires skills, tools, and knowledge largely lost. A multi-generational relearning of hard limits. If this helped you see the mechanisms more clearly, like the video, add your perspective below and subscribe for the next scenario. What would recovery look like in a world altered by the end of oil? It would not be a return to the world we knew. Recovery begins from the ground up. Food, water, power. Local sustainable food production. Organic methods, permaculture, small-scale husbandry. Stabilizes communities and stops the downward spiral. Restore power and clean water on small, decentralized scales. Rooftop solar, small wind, micro-hydro. Pump water, light homes, power workshops. A decentralized grid is more resilient. One failure won't collapse the whole system. Short, local supply chains emerge. Towns regain crafts, smiths, weavers, millers, and trade over shorter distances, with revived rail and canals where possible. Slower, smaller, less convenient. but stronger, more connected communities where people rely on one another. The collapse reveals how brittle, hyper-efficient systems were. Recovery is built on resilience, decentralization, and sustainability. True wealth is fertile soil, skill in people's hands, and strong community bonds. What scenario should we explore next? Share your ideas below. You've been watching Ifverse, where imagination meets possibility. See you in our next reality.